People say Donald Trump is losing the campaign right now. I think that's fair to say with odds markets. People can bet everything else. This is a ridiculous issue that he has created much for himself. He is losing the campaign. Joe Biden is not winning the campaign. Let me repeat that. Donald Trump is losing. Joe Biden is not winning. Joe Biden's basically staying in the basement of his house, trying to avoid ever talking to the media, trying to avoid having any other event. He is letting this be straightforward Donald Trump's election. It's a referendum on Donald Trump, all right? And Donald Trump is doing an awful job right now of making this a referendum that makes a lot of sense. So I have got a straightforward three-pronged message that would win Donald Trump re-election if he were disciplined enough to focus on it and execute. It's not complicated. I like to sum things up into three issues because most of the time people can't remember more than three issues, all right? Whoever tells the best story typically wins, all right? Here is the three-pronged Donald Trump wins in 2020 case for his re-election. Joe Biden doesn't have to make a case, right? If you're asking me to give Joe Biden advice, it's just to stay out of the way and let Donald Trump implode and not even need to actually run a campaign because people are voting against Donald Trump. They're not voting right now for Joe Biden, all right? Here's the three-pronged step. Step number one, focus exclusively on the economy. Instead of all this haphazard tweeting about things that don't matter, the number one place where the public trusts Donald Trump over Joe Biden is the economy. You have to focus on the return, the fact that this is a V-shaped curve, the fact that the economy was the best in the world and will be the best in the world again by next year, but the coronavirus derailed us for a short period of time. It wasn't a structural inefficiency or breakdown of the economy. It was the coronavirus. The numbers actually support this. Numbers came out today. The unemployment rate is rebounding faster. By the end of July, all these unemployment benefits for people who don't want to work will be over. We'll be back into single digits, I believe, in unemployment sometime in August. By the time of the election, it's not crazy to think that we can be at 6 or 7% unemployment and rapidly improving. That is the number one story that Donald Trump should stay on. Don't focus on anything else. Watch less news, watch less media, focus on the economy. It's the economy, stupid, as James Carville once said. Number two, he needs to focus on China, and he needs to absolutely destroy China. With what they're doing on Hong Kong, with what they're doing with internment camps, with what they are doing around the world, we are in a new Cold War, and China is our enemy. All right? China is our enemy. Donald Trump needs to demonstrate that he will be harder on China than Joe Biden, Beijing Biden, whatever he wants to call him, and he needs to go to war with China effectively in a war of words. He needs to blame China for the coronavirus and their response to it. He needs to tie them to Hong Kong. He needs to make it clear that the 21st century, and I 100% believe this, is going to be about American might versus China's might. Who's going to win, a democracy or an authoritarian communist dictatorship? We need to go to economic war with China, and Donald Trump needs to lead that charge. He needs to be tougher on China than Joe Biden. And then number three, he needs to point out the overreach and excesses of the Democrats when it comes to cultural issues. Democrats want to destroy Mount Rushmore. They want to dynamite it. They want to pull down statues of George Washington. They want to destroy Thomas Jefferson. They want to destroy Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant. All of this is a cultural failing of the Democratic Party. He needs to go after them on Mount Rushmore because it's a huge win for him. And importantly, he needs to focus on defund the police. Defunding the police is supported by a tiny minority of the audience. It will lead beyond a shadow of a doubt to more black deaths, which is supposed to be the exact opposite of what Black Lives Matter stands for. We know this based on what happened in Chicago, based on what happened in Baltimore, based on what we're already seeing happen in Minnesota, and based on what we're already seeing happen in New York City. We lived through this already. When there are fewer cops and when cops are not allowed to police, death rates skyrocket from murder, and most of the people who are dying are black. Okay? Defunding the police is an awful idea. It's not supported by the vast majority of the American public. Donald Trump needs to slam those three issues. Let me repeat them. The fact that he's better on the economy, the fact that he is better on China, and the fact that he is better on national sanity when it comes to things like defunding the police and Mount Rushmore. That's all he should talk about. That's all he should talk about. He'll win the election. I don't know if Donald Trump's disciplined enough to do this. I don't know if he's disciplined enough to listen to this. I know there's a lot of people in the White House who watch and listen to this show. I don't know if they put this in front of Donald Trump and say, hey, listen, these are the only three things you need to focus on. Boom, you'll win the election. That's it. If he can't do that, he's going to lose because the election is a referendum on him. All right? Joe Biden is not winning. Donald Trump is losing. And so if he can't, over the next 5 months, make a cogent case for his reelection focused on the economy, China, defunding police, and Mount Rushmore on a cultural issues, it's three issues. Boom, boom, boom. He will win the election. If he can't do it, he won't. All right? Period. I'll come in and I'll tell him the same thing. And by the way, I'll go talk to Joe Biden. And I'll tell Joe Biden, hey, all you got to do is stay out of the way because Donald Trump might implode. He wins the election if he does those three things. If he can't do those things, he's going to lose. This is not complicated. You don't need to overthink it. It's pretty straightforward.